try to take the exam before you actually need to. So let's say you're planning on the June or July LSAT. That's good because you still have the fall. Like let's say you're planning to this fall, you still at least have September. But if you wait till September, then you're pushing it back even further, and that's okay. But you want to be prepared for anything and have the opportunity to retake if you need to, and not have it affect your timeline.
That you mentioned that, yeah, because another question that I want to ask in regard to that is what would be the best time to take your test, especially considering, and we could probably talk about this later, the digital LSAT that's coming out in July. We only have March, June. I think, March and June are the only two tests that we have left that are going to be paper. And then in July, they're going to start the digital. So with people who are looking to go to law school now, when would you recommend to be a good time for them to take their test?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kels. It's something I've been trying to inform as many people as possible about because it is big changes. Like 2019 is a huge year of transition for LSAC. So March and June are your last chances to do paper and pencil. I recommend going for one of those test dates if you can, because the digital format, they haven't worked out all the kinks. It's kind of clunky. I've heard stories from test takers and other tutors who actually found like their thing was crashing during the test. Like the app was crashing. That's obviously a big disaster if it's you, right? Because the clock does not stop. Or if even if they adjust, it's still a mess, of course. You can't draw freehand on the tablet. So if you're used to like writing on the page and drawing brackets around things and the stimulus for a logical reasoning question or diagramming games on the page, that's going to change. Going with the digital, you'll get scrap paper, but of course it's not really the same thing. Then you're looking between them. There's also another thing about the digital format I don't like, which is that there's a countdown clock. And I don't know if you ever go on those sketchy websites where they try to get you to impulse buy, like the clock's losing chance, right?
You have this much time left.
Yeah, buy now. Exactly. So the digital LSAT has that too. And you can remove the countdown clock, but only until the 5-minute warning. Once the 5-minute warning hits, you cannot get rid of that clock. And so I can imagine the adrenaline, like the heart pounding, and it's like, oh my God, time's running out. And it's also distracting to have that motion. So I'd say if you can avoid the digital format, try to get it done by March or June. What happens in July is half of test takers will get assigned the digital format, half will be assigned the paper and pencil format, but LSAC chooses for you, and you don't get any advance notice. Right. I think that's awful. They're calling it a best practice for like their own internal statistics, but that's not good for the test takers.
Right.
So I would say avoid July if you can. One cool thing about July is that they'll let you see your score before canceling as a one-time freebie, and kind of as a consolation prize for having to go through that ordeal. But at least September, you're getting digital, so at least it removes some ambiguity. But again, try to get it done before July. If not, it won't be the end of the world. I'd say in general, you want to apply earlier rather than later in an admission cycle. But law school admissions is rolling. So if you apply even in November or December, that's not really late. Even law schools are taking people with January or March scores, even for that cycle to start less than a year later. So the cycle has spread out a lot. The benefit of applying earlier is that you have a slight advantage, and there's also more scholarship money available.